Hello and welcome to Find Freyja. We're a podcast about how we decided to turn the online dating site OkCupid into a role-playing game. Hi, I'm Mark.
And I'm Natasha.
We're just two people in a domestic partnership who have really weird thoughts about what relationships should be like.
In this particular podcast, we'll be exploring OkCupid as Find Freyja, a character profile we created.
OkCupid has an avalanche of questions to help its users find better matches or love or sex. We're not here to judge, but we will be answering and discussing these questions as we go.
That's the bulk of our show, but we'll also be reading the messages we receive and discussing their content.
And if anyone wants to submit their funny experiences or horror stories, you can find our contact information at the end of the show.
So, a little bit about us. We're in a domestic partnership, which means that we live together. We've been living together for a while. And where we live in Canada, in Vancouver, we're considered common law. So we're kind of married, but we're not married.
Nor are we planning to at any point.
We've both agreed that we don't want to get married, which is part of our whole non-traditional relationship thing.
Right, and another part of that is no kids.
No kids, no babies.
No babies. So another way that we're a non-traditional couple is that we're in an age gap relationship.
So Mark is 13 years older than me.
And it honestly really doesn't come up often.
No, the only time it really comes up is when we're doing 80s trivia and I know nothing and Mark knows everything. But at this point, I know a lot, so...
I've taught you well.
I've learned my lessons.
So
it doesn't really get in the way, which I think a lot of people might have a lot of misconceptions about.
Right.
I'm also not a gold digger because there's no gold to dig.
Yeah, I'm an artist, so...
I'm an academic, so I'm just at the time we're recording this, I'm about to complete my master's degree in educational psychology.
And I have my first full-length feature film in development and have had several short films produced and much sketch comedy and video game material.
I just do mental health stuff. I do a lot of public speaking, and I'm generally a very busy person, but very interested in non-traditional stuff.
We're also both gamers.
Metalhead enthusiasts.
Metalheads.
Yeah.
We also both spin fire poi.
We may or may not be satanic ritualists. Jury's still out on that one.
Are you doing something while I'm asleep?
Yeah, we're just kind of like an odd little couple. Mark looks pretty normal, but I tend to be adorned in goth attire. I have a lot of piercings and tattoos, but I also do a lot of yoga, and I used to run marathons.
So you're like fitness gothic metalhead academic, which is quite a mix.
Yes.
And how would you describe me then? Just weird.
You're weird.
Okay, so I'm just
weird.
weird. Yeah. All right.
That's why I love you.
I'm surprisingly okay with that description.
I think that's what describes you, is you're just so surprisingly okay with everything.
Mm-hmm. I'm very chill.
You're very patient. You're like too chill. It's creepy sometimes.
How is my chillness creepy?
Well, I mean, when I first met you, I thought you were creepy. And then when I got to know you, I was like, oh no, you're not creepy, you're just weird.
Well, you thought I was creepy because you just didn't really trust anyone, I think.
That too, but it was also a really weird night.
It was a very weird night. Okay, so we met through a mutual friend who you grew up with.
Yeah.
And who I went to school with.
Yeah.
And so we went to a Canada Day barbecue. And...
everyone was pretty drunk.
Yeah, everyone was drunk.
Yeah.
And
we were walking downtown, and then my friend and I happened to live downtown at the time. There's this one guy who was just super creepy throughout the whole night, and no one really knew why he was there.
Yeah, he was like a friend of somebody. So he was just hanging around the group, and I think he just wanted to get laid, and so
yeah, because he tried to like lean in and kiss me like when I went home.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, it was super
I remember
weird.
he tried to put his arm around you, but...
yeah, no, he was trying to get it on, and I was not having
Yeah,
that.
and I wasn't looking for anyone, really, at the time. I had been through a very traumatic breakup, and just was kind of like... I was about to move back home for the summer, which is in upstate New York, where I grew up, and...
And you had nowhere to go that night.
Right, yeah,
you were about to
because
leave.
my lease was already up.
So it's me and my friend and Mark and this creepy guy. We're all heading down the street to where my friend and I live, and so we knew that Mark needed a space to stay. But I was like, no, this guy's weird. Let's just make him go away. So basically, like, that happened. My friend and I went back up into our apartment, and then I guess, what did she call you?
She vouched for me.
Yeah,
right?
because I was like, oh, is he a cool dude? And she's like, yeah, he's really cool. I was like, okay, invite him up to
And
sleep on
meanwhile,
our couch.
I went down to the park and just sat on the beach for a while, and then our mutual friend texted me and said, "Hey, are you alone?" And I said, "Yeah," and she said, well, if you've ditched that guy, you can come up. So I'm like, oh, great. I don't have to sleep on grass tonight.
So that's how we met.
Yeah.
But we didn't actually start talking for a while.
Right. We were just acquaintances for a while. And then we very gradually got more personal.
Yeah, then we started emailing a lot because you were traveling and...
Right. And I was kind of doing this nomadic thing at the time where I wasn't staying anywhere for too long. I was in California for a little bit. I took a road trip across the United States from New York to Las Vegas, where my short film had gotten into a festival. And then I stopped in California to visit some friends of mine, and then I came back up to Vancouver.
Yeah, no, we wrote a lot to each other when you were on the road, and then we would have just like long nights together, just like talking.
We'd go over to each other's apartments and hang out, usually with our mutual friend at first, but then
alone.
But there was still nothing to it, really.
No.
It was sometime around, I want to say December, before I flew back home for Christmas, I think, that we had the conversation.
Remember the conversation.
Yeah.
That was like in 2012, though.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Okay. So the thing that I call the conversation is if I get close with a female friend and we talk a lot and we have a lot in common, we spend a lot of time together, I will have a conversation with, no real intent behind it, just kind of like the elephant in the room type of thing, like, hey, could you ever see us dating, or could you see us as more than friends, anything like that, because that comes up, there's that looming question for a lot of people. So a lot of times I'll bring it up, casually, not like ambush you with it or anything, but like, could this be more at any point? And if not, then I dropped the subject. And she wasn't into it at the time, so I dropped the subject and I immediately moved on, because that's what a good person does, And it wasn't like I was harboring a big secret crush for a long time or anything. It was just kind of like, hey, what do you think?
There was a point where we were like, hey, go get him, Tiger. Like, we were mutually cheering each other on for other people.
Yeah, that was, I think, the following spring and summer. We were both seeing people and dating, and we started on that basis. And by that point, it was honestly kind of weird to me to think of us as anything more than friends, because I was just so used to it.
And then we did a huge 180.
Yeah, that was just one night you were sitting a little closer to me on the couch than normal when we were watching a movie. I think I just kind of let that go on for a while, and then after the movie ended, I was like, so hey, what's this all about?
You were too, because you were like, can we just acknowledge the elephant in the room? Like,
Right.
I remember that so clearly.
Yeah.
Stuff happened.
But still it was pretty gradual after that, too. I wasn't entirely ready at the time.
You weren't ready at all, but
Right.
like, you still did it.
Yeah. Because it was time to get back on the horse, I guess. It was just kind of like, I had been apprehensive for a long time at that point.
Yeah.
And was only casually dating for a while, but
And I'm very intense.
right.
Like,
You're also extremely persuasive.
Yeah. I'm good at my job.
Yeah.
It wasn't easy to begin with.
No, there were some bumpy patches, because I was kind of fighting you every step of the way. At the start, and
You were, and it was frustrating as fuck.
But you understand why.
I, of course, understand why. But...
And I understand your apprehension, too. And
so we were basically, like, working our bullshit out with each other.
I knew that if we got into something, we probably couldn't go back to being just friends, because that changes things. That changes the dynamic. It would be kind of awkward to just move on. And I also, I enjoyed being close to you, and you enjoyed being close to me.
We were best friends.
Yeah, and when people say, I got together with my best friend, and we actually mean that.
Yeah, we were really,
because a lot of
good
people
friends.
will get together and then kind of become like best friends out of that, and be like, oh, I married my best friend.
I think what was interesting for us is that we were best friends, and we were really, really good, and we still are. But like then we had to like become a couple, and that was really weird.
It was kind of uncharted territory for both of us in a way, because there were a lot of elements of this relationship that neither of us had ever experienced before.
Yeah. It's been uncharted territory from day one, I think.
Right.
So, I mean, now everything's pretty chill.
Yeah, and...
I mean, like, we're making a podcast together. I mean,
right.
like, what's more commitment than
that? That's the new marriage.
Podcasting is the new marriage. You heard it here.
Marriage.
So, like, another interesting thing for me that makes this relationship very neat is that before we got together, I've been having mental health issues my entire life, but I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder before, like 2 months before we got together. And so it was like just the most chaotic time for me possible to like want to be in a relationship. And the fact that it's still stuck and we're still here, and like
why
I'm doing
did you
fine.
Want to get into a relationship immediately after that?
I remember really
just because I was really supportive.
I was just really into you. I don't know, like you were my best friend, and it made sense.
Right.
That's like how I can describe it. But like, you were the only person I had at the time who was just accepting of me no matter what. And like, obviously that's what you need if you're in like crisis.
Right. Yeah.
But it wasn't just that. It was just like things happened really quickly and very rough for a while, but it all worked out in the end.
I mean, we've kind of built this relationship out of not being traditionally romantic. Like,
he doesn't bring me flowers because I like, honestly, at that point I'm just like, why bring flowers? They're just gonna die. Leave them in their homes in the ground, for God's sake.
Right. Like, I'd rather hike with you or like go on a walk in a field where flowers are.
I'd rather go on a hike and be like sweaty as fuck by the end of it to know that we've actually got a workout instead of just like a nice walk on the beach. But that can be fun too. Yeah, but it's not like traditional romance.
I mean, yeah, we have like I said, we spin Firepoi together, so that's an activity we share.
We play video games together. We podcast now together. I think we're romantic in a weird way.
Yeah. A very non-traditional way.
A very weird way.
And as I said, in the way that's not going to lead to the traditional steps that a lot of people take for this. Like, first of all, we never courted in any way.
Oh, God, no. No, God, no.
We're not heading towards marriage because, like, and do you want to talk a little bit about why we're not into that idea?
There are multiple levels to view this issue on, and for me personally, there's no point in marriage for me because, like, what does marriage give you that we don't already have? Literally, it actually might be detrimental to our status in society to get married because of tax reasons or economic reasons or various other like political reasons. Like, not a great idea for us, but ultimately for me it's like I'm already committed to this person. I don't need anything else to make that more commitment. Like, there's no end goal for me here. I'm already with the person that I love. That's good enough for me. I don't need a ring or a 10,000
or a priest
to like, I especially don't need a priest, or I just don't need a wedding,
or even a justice of the peace. Like,
well, first of all, like, if I had to stand up there and like say very personal things to you in front of a large audience, I wouldn't. To me, that's just not okay with me. It's kind of weird to do that, but many people, as we know, do that.
I mean, my reasons are very similar to yours. I just don't really need the government to give me a certificate saying that you pledged to love this person.
Which is weird because I think so many people see it as like, oh, we're taking the last big step in our relationship, and it's
Well,
like,
no, actually, traditionally,
traditional.
you know, big step is having children, which we're not going to do
Oh,
either.
yeah. What about
and
divorce? Is that the last step?
Is buying a house, is burying the other one the
One
last step? I guess.
Well, we're gonna do that too, so don't worry. Well, one of us is. Yeah, I don't need the government in my relationship. Thank you very much.
And I'd also just like to point out that the children thing is not like, oh, you'll change your mind. No, I actually can't now. I had an operation, so...
And I've never wanted kids anyway.
Yeah.
I'm a career woman. I have a very busy life, and I don't want kids.
I have very big potential. Like I have a movie in development.
The short answer to this is just like, no, fuck off. I don't want kids.
Yeah.
Because
and also, I mean, I'm 38. I don't have energy for kids now. Like, imagine me turning around in 10 years and
from a biological perspective, there's a lot more risk involved with having an older dad.
If that ever were to turn around somehow, it would take a lot and take a long time, and by that time the risk factors of health would be
I'm actually
much higher.
pretty sure I can't even have kids anyway. But like I don't think, like, especially because of all like the medications I take, like there's no way I could even be pregnant.
That also brings up another issue, which is not wanting to
we don't
pass
know
down
that
certain
much
traits.
We don't know that much about genetics, but we do know a lot of things are heritable. Like my mental illness has a very heritable pattern. Don't want to pass that on.
Depression runs in my family, alcoholism runs in my family, anxiety runs in my family.
So it's just like, if you combined our genetics, like either you get a genius or you get a mad genius. Probably a mad genius.
That kind of also just goes along with our general hatred of what I guess I would call them life industries, which is like
the
maternity industry, like from cradle to grave, that
They've
kind
got
of thing.
you. Yeah,
and all of these just capitalize on people's emotions, which I don't think is right. I don't think you have to be traditional. I think you can do what you want, and it shouldn't be up to the way things have always been done.
Yeah.
I also want to point out that due to the subject matter of this podcast, we should also mention that, we're very queer friendly. We're very
open.
We're very progressive and tolerant of, any walk of life. You do you, be what you want to be. Great.
As long as you're not hurting anyone, like it's all good with us.
So what are your aspirations for this show?
Aspirations makes it sound like I'm trying to achieve something, and really like I signed on to this because you're like, I have an idea, and I was like, okay, cool, I'll just whatever, it's good. And
you thought it was a good enough idea?
I thought it was a good idea,
record with
and
me,
I still think it's a good idea, and it's fun, and that's really
and there's tons of material with it because we'll probably never run out of questions.
No,
I personally would love to get sponsored if at all possible. Get on a podcasting network. That would be really cool.
Well, who doesn't want money?
Right. But also just, I work in entertainment, and that would be a nice little career padding for me.
Yeah, meanwhile, I have a steady job in mental health, so I'm good.
All right.
And a future career as a doctor. Not that kind of doctor, though. The philosophical kind.
Unfortunately, you have to qualify that.
I know.
Like, if
I don't understand why they, you shouldn't actually...
Is anyone here a doctor?
Yeah.
Yeah, but not the one you need.
I study, social phenomena. Does that count? I can do basic CPR. I can talk you out of suicide. Is that...
Maybe that's what they need.
That's what I should advertise myself as. I should just sit on bridges at night. I wonder how many people have met that way. Like 2 people sitting on a bridge. intending to kill themselves, and they start talking.
They fall in love.
Love.
Oh, God. That's the beginning of a terrible romantic comedy, I'm sure.
But one
somewhere.
I would definitely watch.
This has been our preview episode. You can expect more original content with longer episodes coming soon. If you want to spread the word, you can get the hashtag #FindFreyja going.
You can also find us at faculty.ca/findfreyja. That is fakvlty.ca/findfreyja. This is Natasha.
And this is Mark.
You've been listening to Find Freyja.